It's like you want to have everything, like you said, written down so that when more opportunity comes, you're ready. We don't want to just be like, oh no, there's opportunity here. Now what am I going to do? Like you've actually taken that time to redefine and get clear.
Welcome to a very special episode of the Cosmic Business Breakthrough. I am delighted to have these two special guests with me today. We are here for a panel discussion on all things eclipse energy. So a huge welcome to Rhianna Jade and Kristy Gray, who have both been on the show before. And so we're not going to go into the full intro, but they're both amazing astrologers. Rhianna has also got a background in psychology, and Kristy has also got a background in life coaching. So we are bringing all of like the good stuff to help you to navigate eclipse season in your business and your personal life, hopefully, in this episode. So I just want to start by, let's just do a little overview of eclipse energy and what it means generally before we dive into the specifics of this eclipse season. So eclipses in general, we usually have them a couple of times a year, and they happen in pairs because we've got this axis happening. We've got, this year we have the nodes of the moon being in Aries and Libra, and we're going to talk about that. And if you want more details on the nodes of the moon, you can listen to the episode that I recorded with Rhianna, I think last year. But basically what we're talking about is when either the earth or the moon is obscuring the light of either the sun or the moon. So we're getting like a bit of a blackout in one of our luminaries. So this usually signals like a shift, a bit of a transformation, a change. It can be a turning point in our lives and businesses. So what is your experience, both in your own life and what you've noticed play out in your clients' lives? What's your general feeling about eclipses?
I think that vulnerable piece is very on point, or just, I think for me, it's a bit of a restlessness because, I like to know what's going on and what's going to happen. So when I don't know all those things, I can feel a little nervy, a little restless. And I think it doesn't always impact our lives personally, right? If we don't have Aries or Libra activations in our chart. But I was reflecting on, but what does it look like with every kind of eclipse season? And I think from a business perspective, we just notice all the turmoil and change and pivots with our clients. So I tend to be really busy during eclipse season because a lot of people are really navigating a lot of stuff. So I think we need to be really on point with our energy and making sure that we're grounding and that we're good so that we can hold that energy for everyone else, even if we're not necessarily navigating any huge turning points in our personal lives.
Yeah, absolutely. They hit everybody in a different way, especially, if you have obviously got, at the moment, if you've got a lot of stuff going on in Aries or Libra, you're going to feel it a bit more, a lot of planets, a lot of points, important points in your chart. But what I notice with clients as well, and what I notice for myself, that is usually there's something that's been going on that's been kind of bubbling away for some time. And it's like this niggle. And then the eclipse comes around and it's like that's the line in the sand moment. It's like, especially with a lunar eclipse in the South Node, where you're kind of cutting something away, is very much that sense of, okay, I'm no longer going to do things that way. Now things have to change. Like things are changed. Like it's kind of this clarifying time, and it doesn't happen necessarily right on the day of the eclipse. You'll feel it kind of build up, and then and sometimes I have had clients where it literally happens, though that like day either side of the eclipse, and they're like, I wasn't expecting this, but hang on, actually this was building for a long time and now it's happened, and now there's no going back. It's kind of that, it's that no going back moment. So So with that in mind, what are you thinking are going to be the themes of this upcoming, what we call the eclipse portal, where we've got, these both the south node lunar eclipse in Libra and then the upcoming north node solar eclipse in Aries. What are you feeling are going to be important lessons for us, particularly in business, but also in life? What's going on?
And I think in terms of the sequence of it, with right now, with wrapping up Pisces season, the end of the astrological year, there feels like there's a lot of grief right now. I think in terms of a full moon and an eclipse being about endings, this one really feels like endings, like we're really cutting things out. So I have really noticed grief with clients, and in my own life, I feel like on that edge, like, okay, I'm here, but I'm also moving over here, and I can just feel that something's moving away. And then I feel the excitement too for the new moon eclipse, and it feels more like, in terms of that Aries energy, like there's a lot of courage coming in, a lot of ownership. Like I'm going to actually step into my power. I can feel the real leadership around it. I think with the Chiron Cazimi, imposter syndrome might rear its head, where we want to step into our power, but there may be some wounds and triggers around worthiness with the power. But that's how it feels like it's going to be a flow-on effect, that we're kind of just leaving and removing the things that aren't in alignment with that, so that we could move towards taking those big, bold, courageous steps with the Aries new moon.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully Christy's getting
Christy, I know. I was like,
she just keeps overheating herself. That's all good. But yeah, so you're feeling like we're going to be feeling this sort of sense of grief because we're letting something go at this Libra full moon or lunar eclipse, because it's on the south node. And it's also something we've been dealing with for some time, because we've had this nodal axis playing out for us for since the middle of last year. Yeah. So I think this would be where you would think too, what is Libra? What part of my chart is Libra flavoring or directing, and what's in that, and what might be feeling like I'm letting go of that. I've noticed personally, Libra is my 6th house, and I have absolutely been resetting my support, like who is supporting me and the partnerships that I have around that. And it's not necessarily been I've not been happily letting go of support.
Right?
It's just been like the support is like it's a reset, though. I see it more as a reset. Okay, have I been supported, and what needs to be reset and rebalanced here, very Libran, about the way that I receive that support, or the way that that's the way that support is structured, because it's the 6th house. What other habits and routines am I doing to support myself here, or partnerships do I need, or where do I need to rebalance a partnership so that I can get more support or feel more supported? That's kind of a practical way of thinking about that Libran partnership energy, I suppose, in your business. I mean, Libra happens to be a business house for me, or a work house. But yeah, look to your own chart and notice what themes that house will bring up for you. And that might show you where you are letting go of things, and where you're ready for that fresh start that the Aries eclipse is also going to bring to us. So now Christy's back. What about, you were talking before about this idea that both of you were talking about, this Aries energy brings us to more authentic expression and more courage, because those are the things that Aries is known for. It's known for being this kind of pioneering, courageous, warrior-like energy. So it's also about getting things moving again, kind of getting things initiated that maybe we've been leaving languish, and now we're ready to get them going again. Do you have any tips for entrepreneurs who are looking to kind of harness this kind of go-getter Aries vibe for in their business? And what do you need to balance with that? Or what are some considerations around being full steam Aries go?
Don't actually love this statement, but it's so Aries to me, which is fake it till you make it. Like, I'm actually so I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think sometimes to cultivate confidence, you kind of need to step out and be bold. I think what I'm so excited about this particular lunation is that there is such a huge opportunity for us to bet on ourselves. And that takes courage, exactly as Rhianna said before. Like, there is this opportune time. I think it's going to be really interesting in the business space, because I think as clients, because we're all clients in some degree if we have a social media profile, as we're so exposed to marketing all the time. And I think that as consumers, we've become really savvy. We can see through the bullshit. And and this is why I'll loop back to this fake it till you make it, because I don't think it's about presenting something that you're not, because I think we've really seen that, especially in some particular industries over the last 12 months, of lots of promises.
Some particular
and,
yeah.
So, and that's why some businesses have struggled, because I think we're very savvy now as consumers. But I truly believe if you believe in something and you have a really heart-centered approach and you're assertive with your message but not aggressive, there's a real opportunity to go out on a limb and bet on yourself. And sure, that is going to be scary because Chiron's thrown in the mix, but anything that I know about Chiron is Chiron helps us turn our pain into power. And when we teach from experience, and when we do something that is so, important to us, that will be received by the right people. And that might not be everyone, but that also is important too, because we've all got communities out there that need to hear from us. So whatever we do.
And I think that turning pain into power is like even more astute when it comes to Aries, right? That just feels like a really Aries statement. So that feels really powerful and on point. I was actually chatting yesterday with a client, so it's so interesting that you brought this up with the fake it till you make it, where we were talking about, rather than, it's not a persona that we're using, like calling on an archetypal energy. And I think I wrote in a post recently that it was like, what would Aries do? Like when we're having to make decisions at the moment, what would Aries do? And you can kind of call on the archetypal Aries energy at the moment to help you make those bold choices and to help you make decisions that perhaps you would have shied away from during, the Scorpio and Taurus eclipses, that maybe you wanted to stay at home and hide away rather than get out there in the world and shine and be seen.
And go for it. And I love that idea of drawing on the archetype, because we need that, we need that anchor for the energy as well. Like that's a really practical thing to do with both of those energies. Think about that as an archetype and go, okay, how can I anchor into this to move myself forward? And how can I acknowledge this? I guess in the Libra sense, what we're letting go of, we can see that as the shadow side. Like we can let go of the shadow side of Libra, which is the people pleasing and, the keeping the peace at all costs kind of energy, and instead embrace the archetype of what's the powerful part of Libra, and embrace, let go of the shadow and embrace the more productive side of the Libran energy, which is how can I work with others to tackle that thing that I really want to tackle? How can I move myself forward and go after boldly where I wouldn't have gone before, while still thinking like how I can also use my collaborations in this really powerful way and step away from the people pleasing and the passive aggression and all those kind of things that are associated with, the shadow side of Libra.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Do you guys have any thoughts on, how this might also influence how we deal with our clients and how we deal with maybe people that we're in partnership with in business, or both of those energies? Like, how would you advise your clients in their work or in their business to deal with this? Maybe let's focus on the Libra first, the Libra South Node. Kristy, take it away.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, in our chat last year, when you mentioned this point of collaboration, which I hadn't even considered, and I was like, oh my goodness, yes, I really can see that this will play out. And it's certainly not even consciously, it's been playing out, this, like, how do we band together and utilize our resources in a way that we can really share it. I think with the positive polarity of Libra too, I really feel the Venus. It's like in that feminine energy, like, how can we work together? How can we collaborate? How can we nurture and nourish one another, and do it in this really beautiful, pleasing, like, feminine, yummy way? Like, it feels like there's a lot of power in the feminine. I think we can get lost in the masculine power of Aries, but there's a lot of power in the feminine. So that's potentially one way that we can look at it and work with it.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. What about you, Kristy?
Yeah. If I think of, like, drawing from my own experience as well, like that eclipse season we navigated to the back end of last year, a big thing that came up for me as an Aries moon in the 8th house is, asking.
You both have Aries moon. Look at that.
Yeah, so good. Yeah. My strong I think, and it was actually around the time that I hired a business mentor in a space that was quite different than what I'm normally, I suppose, attracted to, but it was exactly what I needed, which is that real divine, feminine, energetic work.
Yeah.
And so, if I think
it's a good balance to the Aries, be
able to balance that energy sometime. But I think what came up for me a lot, and also with the clients and business that I work with, is asking for support is a really important thing, and also being really discerning of who you choose to outsource your power to. And I think that theme I've seen carry over into this year as well. And there is such an importance on community and being surrounded by the people that will only lift you higher. And that can be hard to find when you already are questioning yourself and trying to figure out where you're going as well. So I think, one, it's getting really clear on what type of life and business you want to have for yourself this year, and then get yourself in the rooms of the people that are aligned, so that you feel like you've got community around you and the right collaborations around you too.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, though, that the balance comes into play.
I was literally just thinking that. I was like, okay, so we're wanting balance. That's what this is.
Of course. So so you're looking to balance out the Aries, and the masculine energy, the fire energy with the Venus, and that kind of, that more feminine energy, more able to receive support, right? That's the idea of that feminine side, is like, I don't have to do it all myself. I can actually be open to receiving support in this way that feels right for my goal that I'm trying to pursue in that Aries sense. So I love that. I love that that way of working with the energy, of thinking about it like, how can I use that that productive side of Libra, and kind of, it's because we think of the South Node, like, we often think of the South Node as this thing that we are leaving behind. But it's also that thing that we are spiritualizing, or that can be thought of in the sense of it's becoming the higher form.
Yeah.
Like, so that's how we work with the Libra energy, is what's the higher form of this? How can I create this more sweeter balance? That's like, sounds like a lot of more, but how can you create that Venus? How can you bring more of that juicy balance and feminine energy to your life in a positive way, not so that it overwhelms you, but so that it feels like it's balancing out and offsetting the masculine drive, or that the pioneering spirit that we have as entrepreneurs as well, to like go and get all the stuff done. How can we receive that Libra support? Yeah, love it. So do you think we're going to face, though, like, we navigated this last year, and we talked, I know, Rhianna, you and I talked about this idea of like, where is the diplomacy going to go when we have the South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries, the warrior? Are we going to find that we come up against some battles in our businesses? Do you think that this is the kind of energy where we really, especially with that kind of the Aries solar eclipse, which is right next to a Chiron Sun conjunction. So Chiron, the wounded healer, which I have an episode on with Kristy. See how this all worked out beautifully. We have an episode on Chiron. You can go listen to that. But it's the wounded healer, and it's right in the heart of the sun as we have this solar eclipse. So it is flavoring this entire, eclipse portal, I suppose, because we can't talk about the Aries eclipse without talking about Chiron. Do you think that influence might also mean that we are going to feel some, challenges or battles within our business, do you think it's going to create anything like standoffs on social media, or like what do you feel that energy could lead to? And I'm just talking about the business sense. Like, we won't kind of go into like the whole world, because like that could be a whole powder keg in itself.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation. But just to focus on the business world, and especially, us being in this online business world where we notice things that happen on social media and what we're all doing online, like, what do you think that this energy could bring up for us?
I don't know if it's just, in my chart, I have Moon in Aries opposing Libra Venus. So I kind of feel like this is my natural kind of energy. So for me, the battle feels internal. Like, it actually feels more like battling my own imposter syndrome kind of demons, so that I can actually step up and show up, because I can feel the Aries energy wanting to step up, wanting to lead, wanting to do things in bold new ways, like kind of sick of the status quo. But then I can feel that more passive Venus going, but should we? And so it feels a little bit more internal, and just riding that wave of finding the edge and doing it with authenticity.
Yeah.
Look, there'll have to be something online that's going to occur. I have to say it. Similar to you, Rhianna, like, I feel for me, it's definitely an internal game that I'm going through on my own, especially because Chiron is so significant in my natal chart. But if I think of Aries energy and that Mars energy as well, and and God of War energy, like, and there is a real fine line sometimes between anger and assertion, and I think that especially in business, when things are changing and there's a potential wobble for for people, they feel that they have to get louder and bolder to make their point. And I wonder what that will look like in the online space, because I think we're craving, from like my own observations, we're craving like community, nostalgia. We want to we've got that like Neptune and Pisces energy, right? We still want to get lost in something that moves us. And I wonder how things will transpire, but I have to agree. I think there'll be something that comes.
Something.
Oh, always.
There's always something. But yeah, especially with this kind of eclipse, which is, it's going to, because it's so close to the wound, Like literally, I'm just wondering what it is going to kind of ignite for people, and whether that's going to be, whether that it's really going to bring our wounds to the surface.
Well,
it's going to bring it.
Sorry, I'm just thinking on that. You've mentioned like Pisces and Neptune. I'm just remembering. So with the Aries solar eclipse and Mars being the ruler of that eclipse, and Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So I feel like, and it's really interesting because with the Libra eclipse, we've got Venus conjunct Saturn. So there's like this real story, like Saturn's there kind of containing things and showing us where we're feeling boxed in and maybe we want to come out. But Kristy, what you were just saying, right, about we feel like we need to get louder, like we've got to make more noise if we're not being heard. I'm wondering if that like Pisces, Mars, Saturn is feeling all contained and we're not necessarily being really conscious of the way we're speaking, if there is just going to be a lot of noise online at that time.
That's such a good point that you highlight.
I think though, I mean, what I'm noticing as well is I can't have a conversation now without talking about AI, right? It's like I can't talk about astrology without talking about AI at the moment, especially with all this energy. And I feel like it plays into like this whole soup, this soupiness of Pisces, or like, did that person really write that? Or was that an AI? Like, did she write that? Or was that AI? And also, or is that really that person, or is that an AI image? Like, there's kind of like this, and that's the Saturn, that all of this Pisces energy is like, what's real and what's not. And then, with all of this Aries energy, is it like we're going to have to really define what we're pushing forward with, and if that thing is actually authentically us, or if we have been playing too much in this, let's just create,
let's just float along
and get lost in like the that kind of illusion of the AI world. And now we're going to be called into, where are we being more authentic in our business and in our life? How can we make that happen? And how can we, and maybe that Chiron energy is there to show us why we've been playing in these illusions, because we have a wound around those issues. Like, is this making sense? Like,
huge.
I feel like it's obviously all connected. So cosmic.
And remember, we've got Pluto in Aquarius too, who's like ushering up what information is real, what's not real. So I just think there's so many factors that really are highlighting and illuminating what's real when it comes to information, and in terms of what's being put out there and why it's being put out there. And are we just talking for the sake of talking, or are we helping? Are we healing? Like, what's the purpose behind it?
Exactly. Like, are we just putting out content because we think we should, and therefore using all of this AI to do that? Or are we actually saying what is authentically ours to say? And what has a genuine connection with what we're trying to achieve? Or are we because I think AI also has that potential to block us from taking courageous action, because we like, I can just write a post with AI, I don't have to actually think about it. Like, it can be a great tool, but I think it's easy in business to get lost in the hamster wheel of, I have to generate content, so I'll just use this tool to create the thing. I won't really say what's on my heart. I'll just do that because I think that's the right thing to do. So hopefully this energy will bring that out of us, so that we reconnect with what we really want to say and what we really want to do in business. Do you see any other kind of opportunities that these eclipses might be bringing to us?
I think I'm always like, every time it's eclipse season, I do use this language quite a lot, but especially with particular cycles, but especially eclipses, is where are you investing your time and energy? Like, there needs to be a level of discernment around what is actually worth your time and energy as well. And I think as well, especially with the undercurrent of Mercury retrograde too, and even though that, Mercury is going to be retrograding in fire signs this year, and so there's a lot of fiery energy, but it's like, where is your heart leading you, and checking in on that as well. And and you said that before, Sophia, around with like, should I be doing this, or what's actually guiding me right now? And I think we're going to have to, for me, it's always about self-inquiry, like how are we talking to ourselves, what questions are we asking as well. And I was even recording a podcast episode on this week, because the energy right now with Pisces season is very much about questioning everything. But sometimes that's not about taking action. It's about finding the right questions to prompt action at the right time, because also timing is everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, that's compounded because it is Mercury retrograde, right? Is this the time to be taking action, or are we just reflecting? Like, I don't think this is the whole story just yet. So it's why people are feeling quite restless, because we're thinking, well, the change is coming and I'm going to have to take action, but it might just be showing us where we are redefining and really thinking about, what action do I want to take, even if it's not necessarily right now.
Yeah.
I love that word, redefining.
It is
so good. Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah.
And like, I think we didn't really touch on this because we had a little bit of a technical glitch, but we did at the beginning, before we went live, talk about the fact that we were going to be in Mercury retrograde as well as this eclipse portal, which does again muddy the waters a little bit in terms of how we're communicating, but it also gives us that chance to reflect and to consider, like, what's the right path and what am I doing here, and do I need to revise or reconsider or redefine the process that I'm taking in my life and in my business. So it's not necessarily, and I don't think any of the three of us here would advise you to do anything with eclipse energy. Like, don't go and try and manifest anything. Don't do any major sort of rituals or anything around this energy. This is just a kind of, eclipses are volatile. Some people can work with them, but you need to know what you're doing. And it's not because like necessarily anything bad is going to happen. It's just because it's unpredictable. So it's not the best energy to work with. You're better off waiting until the Taurus new moon before you go and kind of try and manifest anything you don't really want to be manifesting on an eclipse. So do you have any other tips on working with eclipses? Like, we're talking about no manifestation rituals, but what would you do? What do you do to kind of support yourself through these eclipses? What do you actually do, both of you?
For me personally, I always spend time anchoring in before eclipse season, like getting really clear, okay, where am I currently at? How am I feeling? What am I needing? I think, Kristy, you talked earlier too, right, about our energy and just making sure we've got all those things that help to ground us, because it is quite unpredictable. And I think having an openness to to change and being flexible is what's really helpful, so that you can pivot if you need to. So you don't have to be braced, like stuck, ready for change, but it's just like, just be open to pivoting and being flexible as needed.
Yes.
So important. Protect your peace. That is like, that's the key thing with those anchors. As a Virgo girly, I am all about the systems and processes. And so, of course, when eclipse season is here, I am like in the trenches. Like, I plan my life and business in Notion. So my Notion always gets a huge glow up. But I use my notes app in my iPhone a ton, because for me, if I think of Aries energy, and even with the eclipse season around Aries season and then moving into Taurus season, Aries sparks the ideas, whereas Taurus is about implementation. So I just let those ideas and downloads drop in thick and fast. And as you said before, Rhianna, like, you don't have to take action on them, but at least you've got somewhere to park them. And I think that then you can then harness that energy when that Taurus new moon comes around in Taurus season, and you're like, oh yeah, like I've got some things I can start implementing and integrating. They still feel good, and how can I make them tangible? So that's how I tend to work during eclipse season. I just observe, and like that, I take long baths, and I put bare feet to earth, and I write everything down.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so important to ground yourself during the eclipse time because it can feel very destabilizing. So any ways you can ground your energy or ground yourself, practices that you know are supportive to you, like baths or like walks on the beach or walks in grass, or like connecting with that stuff. And yeah, I love that you're writing it down, and particularly for you two who both have the Aries moon, like probably you'll notice like a lot of downloads coming through.
My notes app is already on fire.
Yeah
You're speaking
crazy
my language.
times.
Yeah
Yes.
And I know it's getting a little bit off topic, but I think, Kristy, you're like, without actually overtly saying it, you're already feeling into that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we then have in Taurus in April. So it's like you want to have everything, like you said, written down so that when more opportunity comes, you're ready. We don't want to just be like, oh no, there's opportunity here. Now what am I going to do? Like you've actually taken that time to redefine and get clear.
Yes, that, and it is like there's so much going on, isn't there? Like astro-wise in April. I mean, it's like, woof, it's all happening. So yeah, we do need to be prepared for that. So just anybody listening, the dates for these things, we've got the lunar eclipse in Libra. That's a full moon eclipse happening on the 25th of March here in Australia. I think it's everywhere on the 25th of March. And then we've got the Aries solar eclipse, which is a new moon eclipse. And that is happening here in Australia on the 9th of April, but I think the rest of the world, the 8th of April. And that eclipse, that's the one where we're going to be able to, that's the one that's crossing America. Is this?
I feel like one of them we can even see in Australia, except maybe Perth. I feel like I read somewhere recently, but I don't know which one it is. It might actually be the Libra one.
Yeah, I think it's the full moon eclipse that we'll be able to see, and possibly the solar eclipse they're going to be able to see in North America. I think it's another one of those, because the solar eclipses are always more dramatic, right? Because it's the lights going off in the daytime. It's like, so what happened? And so that's the one that's generally more associated with like very dramatic change, because it's happening in the day, and it's like that one was always something that was feared because when people like the ancient people didn't know what was going on and the lights went out, it was all very scary. So we also still observe that, or still have kind of echoes of that, I guess, in our modern astrology practice, that we don't try and do stuff. We don't necessarily get out there and bathe under the eclipse light. Some people like it, but I would say personally, I would be staying inside.
Kristy and I'll be inside madly writing in our notes.
That's it. It's all
endless streams of downloads.
Yeah. That's it. I love it. Yes. So those are happening, and then we have this Uranus and Jupiter conjunction in Taurus on April 20th. I think it is
21st, 20th.
21st.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm thinking of, where is it in my 21st for us. It's happening in like around midday for us on the 21st of April. So that can also be ushering in some big transformation or change, particularly in maybe in the Taurus part of our chart. So we're looking at the Libra, Aries, and Taurus parts of our chart for some like revelations, transformations, some up leveling too, like really thinking about up leveling that Libra part of your chart and pushing forward in the Aries part of your chart. Do you have any final thoughts, recommendations, ideas for people navigating this next couple of months in their business?
Be
I feel like we've
brave.
covered a lot. Yeah. Be brave, be flexible.
Be brave.
Yeah.
Be brave, be flexible. Love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Be grounded,
Yeah.
or as much as possible.
But yeah, what would Aries do from the highest octave?
Yeah. High vibrational expression.
I'll just put that caveat in.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What would Aries do if Aries is fully resourced in its highest evolution?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this is the full story yet. Like I'm really getting the feeling that this is just, we're kind of still in the middle in a sense. Not necessarily the middle, but it doesn't feel like the ending yet. It feels like there's more to come. So I think we just need to be open and flexible. I think, Kristy, you mentioned before, like that heart led. If we can really come back to our hearts, to our true selves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That connection to self is so important, and you know, starting a conversation with yourself, however that transpires for you. You know, for some people that's meditation, for some people that's journaling, you know, for some people that's walking outside in nature just to disconnect and have that silent strategy session with themselves. But you know, find your anchor, and have an empowering conversation and ask some powerful questions, and that should hopefully give you some insight that could essentially usher in a new era, and some answers that you could potentially pull some threads on as the year progresses.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're gonna see kind of an evolution of this story when we hit the second eclipse portal of the year, which is towards the end of the year, and we're gonna have our final. Is it a final Aries or Libra eclipse?
There's a Libra one, but then the Pisces comes in the mix.
Pisces.
Yeah,
that's it. It's Libra and Pisces.
Yeah.
So we're gonna feel kind of a bit of a change in the story at the end of the year, like what we've been working on since you know,
July
the
last
first
year.
round of eclipses. Well, July, but really those first eclipses that we had on the Libra Aries axis last year. Now we're kind of in the middle of the story, and then at the end of the year we're going to kind of have that more resolution, or something's going to become resolved or clarified in some way, so that we can move into the Pisces Virgo eclipse time, which Kristy's going to love that.
Oh my goodness. I just
the
be
hits
honest.
just keep coming.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm like, take me back to like 2022 when I had all the Jupiter transits.
Oh yes. And now at the time you're like, Jupiter, schmoopiter. And now you're like, I want Jupiter back. Thank you.
I know. Oh yeah. I always find though, like this eclipse season is actually better for me anyway. It's always the second half of the year, because it always seems to come around that like Scorpio season, which I find is my most challenging season of the year. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite happy with these ones coming up, to be honest, in comparison to what's on the
horizon.
horizon.
I like Scorpio season, but yes, it's interesting that we all have, like, you guys have both Aries moon, I have a Libra moon, so we're all kind of really activated by this eclipse, this axis anyway. So we'll all have interesting stories to tell by the end of the year, and to anyone listening who does have a lot of Aries or Libra energy, we are here in solidarity with you.
I am just waiting for Chiron. Please just move away from 15, 16, 17 degrees. My moon needs a break. Please.
That's it.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to you, because I've been
It'll
there.
happen.
What degree is your Aries moon?
Yeah, so what I went through in 2020 was so wild, because it brought up for me all of my health challenges, and it was just like a a reclamation of self, and it was tough. So my Aries moon's at 7 degrees, but it teetered on and off that year of COVID with everything else that was occurring. And I don't know about you, but that I actually also had like really low iron levels that I didn't know about because Mars is associated with iron, and I just tried to push
doing
through
all that.
Yes.
So, and now it's Chiron on my moon navigating all my Pluto square transits.
Oh
God. Fun.
Yeah.
Look, it's like we've hit the age of like all of the difficult transits. I feel like it's like it's happening, right? Yes. Also Pluto squares. All right. This has been such a cool conversation. We're gonna have to do this again. I love it. So before we wrap up, I want to say a huge thank you to you both for joining me. Do you want to tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and what you've got coming up over the next few months? Because I know both of you support people through eclipse season. So go to Kristy first, because we've been doing that. We'll just keep going to Kristy first.
Business as usual for me, which is so like nice. It's nice. I feel like this year is just about mastery, and it's just been so good I made all those changes the last eclipse season. So I feel like now it's continued to be implementation and integration, but you can always find me over at kristygray.com. And I'm not going to share it now, but I'm working on something so exciting because all of the medical astrology that I was studying over the last 2 years, I am putting into a new program called the Star Method, which I cannot wait to share to help people to elevate their everyday. So that's going to be coming soon. So that's what I'm working on in the background.
Okay, but it's not ready yet, but that's a really exciting
thing.
It's
just a little
coming
behind the
soon.
Scenes. Yeah.
Post eclipse season, I'm guessing. Post eclipse season.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about you, Rhianna? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm really, you know how you were talking about the collaboration side of things. I'm really feeling that. I'm feeling called to work with more people in new ways and to work with peers, not just clients. So I'm actually cooking up a monthly mastermind at the moment that I'm going to be starting for women in business. And so we can all get together and just collaborate, learn from one another, ground. So I'm very, very excited for that. And this, I mean, this will probably air after I do this, but I actually am holding an equinox astrological new year sacred ceremony on Tuesday, the 19th of March, just so we can actually anchor in before all the eclipse retrograde craziness comes. So just a way to actually, with reverence and intention, anchor in. But aside from that, business as usual for me too at rhiannajade.com and on Instagram and all the things.
Awesome. I love it. Well, that's very exciting. Both of you have exciting things coming up. So please go and check both of them out. And I'm excited to connect back with you both at the end of the year when we can see how these things play out, and if there's any insights and revelations to be had, particularly in business and how we see what happens with clients, all of that sort of thing. So thank you both so much for your time. I'm going to stop recording right now.